When you mentioned undersea cables, it's not just our sea lanes and skies we've got to protect. There's a whole cyberspace now, digital communications in general. And you point out here we rely heavily on tens of thousands of submarine cables that crisscross our oceans and connect Australia to the rest of the world. How vulnerable are these to Chinese attack?
Oh, they are totally and absolutely vulnerable. Both sides, the Americans and the Chinese, have built specialist submarines whose one function it is to wreck these cables or to reroute them. And there are certainly stories around the place that certain of these cables in the world have been rerouted through Beijing. I don't know how true those stories are, but these submarines exist. They are designed to wreck these cables. 90% of our military data goes through undersea cables. It doesn't whip up to space and get bounced back by a satellite. It goes through cyber protected. It goes through these cables. Smash these cables and you've changed our ability to pass the information that we get from outer space or the information that we want to send to outer space to then send down to our submarines and our ships and our planes.
So to sum up the implications of what you said, Jim, you write, the advantages that the US has enjoyed for many years through its advanced technology and industry no longer exists. You go on to say that China has, quote, the ability to spring a devastating attack on US regional bases that would remove US power from the Western Pacific and leave China free to resolve the Taiwan issue in its own time without any interference. Leave China free to do its own thing in its own time with no interference. What scares me most about that sentence, Jim, is that you don't qualify it with any ifs, buts or maybes.
No, and I think this, and I spend a lot of time in a couple of chapters defending this point because this is a key point. This is the first time that the Western liberal democracies, Europe, the US, Australia, have faced an adversary which is our superior force in relation to both industry and technology. Even during the Cold War, Russia was certainly the equivalent, if not the greater power in relation to its industrial capacity to produce tanks and armoured vehicles and aircraft, but its technology was never up to the Western technology, and we could space wars them out of existence just about. Well, that's not the case with China. Every indication is, and most of these indications come from open sources in the United States, every indication is that both their industry and their technology is superior to ours in the West. So not only are they numerically superior, they are now at a stage where the technology that they have on these ships and planes and missiles is superior to ours. And this is, as I said before, this is something we have never faced before, and we better get a move on. We get report after report after report from American, and not just anyone in America, from deputy commanders of American armed forces who use the rather crude saying that in their war games, the Chinese hand them their ass. They are thoroughly beaten by the Chinese in the war games that they conduct. And there's a very big series of war games being run at this very moment. And I certainly hope that the Americans are prepared to release the results because they're furiously looking for a way to fight and to win in China's front yard. My fear is that there is no way to do this. The physical presence of China and Taiwan where they exist means that we should not be trying to fight in that area. Now that's bad news for the Taiwanese for sure. It's absolutely immoral. If we wanted to fight in that area, then we've got to figure out some other way of fighting. And in my view, the only way to do it is to increase both our technological capability and our industrial capability, and to, in Australia's case, to spend vast amounts of money.